Hey everyone, this is Ricky with Spoiler Force Podcast, courtesy of Popluck Podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure to check us out at facebook.com/Popluck Podcast. And you can find more Spoiler Force Podcast on YouTube as well. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in into another episode of Spoiler Force Podcast. My name is Ricky. This is the second episode of Spoiler Force Podcast. I have quite a bit to talk about today. It's been quite a week. I'm going to try to do my podcast weekly. If not, I will let our listeners know when there will be some schedule changes depending on the material. I want to try to upload them on Mondays from now on so that we can just start off the week with something new to listen to. And so this past week has been pretty crazy. For those of you who have not seen Avengers, I don't know how you avoided spoilers all this time. Speaking of Avengers Endgame, I just wanted to talk about an experience I had. I was in the theater, and of course, we all have those people in the theater who just end up talking way too much, eat too loud, and are just irritating. Like, have some common courtesy, And my first viewing of it was sort of ruined because I was sitting next to this couple, and this guy just had the nerve to bring a girl who's never seen any of the Avengers films, none of them. Like, every few seconds, she was like, "Oh, who's that character? Oh, who's that hero? Who's that?" And the guy would sit there, whisper loudly, "Oh, that'd be Captain Marvel. Oh, that's Ant-Man. Ant-Man, he can shrink and he can grow." Like, come on, educate the girl before you bring her to the movie theater, and not just her, anyone. I mean, this is made for people who's been following these films for the past 11 years. And if you're new to it now, you might as well just binge it before you watch it. For any moviegoers, please have some common courtesy. Just be aware of the people around you. Don't irritate them. Don't talk. Enjoy the movie. Enjoy what's been made for everyone. Don't ruin anyone's experience. And educate yourself. If you're going to go watch some superhero movies, know that you have to know some of these characters from the get-go. Not every movie is made to be an origin film. Read your comic books, because that is the source material to all of these movies. Just be aware of that. And just to end the rant here, I don't want to start off this episode on a bad note. I just had to get it out there. So to continue on, this week was Free Comic Book Day. This year had quite a bit of a list. I went to 4 different stores with Andrew Lee. He and I went to 4 different stores. The first one we went to was Comix and More. If you live in Michigan, this store is located on 13 Mile in, I believe, John R. It is on the south side. It's in a small little plaza. The owner, his name is Chris Brown. Yeah, not the singer, but his name is Chris Brown. He's actually a really cool guy, very intellectual, very outgoing, very outspoken. I believe he has a podcast of his own. I forgot the name of it as well, but I met him a few times. I don't know him personally. I've seen him around, and he's the one that's been posting up the tickets for the early screenings that we've been able to go to. For example, I've been to the Wonder Woman screening, Thor Ragnarok screening. I believe we went to the Ready Player One screening, early screening. I don't know if that was it. Yeah, but because of him, we've been able to do that as Popluck Podcast, and just in general as well. We've been doing that for the past, I think, almost a year. He hasn't done it recently, so we were at a store, and we were there an hour early. So it's not trying to be creepy or anything. So we just went to Target, and we went around and just bought some movies, and blew off some time to not be there so early. And when we got there to Comix and More, he had some bins out for some comic books that were on sale for like buy 3 for $1. And I bought some. I bought a Superman issue. It's the issue with him racing the Flash. So it was the Superman number 199 with Flash and Superman on the cover, saying who is the fastest man alive. The race between Superman and the Flash, and on the cover there's Batman and Hal Jordan. It's just a race between them, and obviously we all know the Flash wins. Yes, the Flash is faster than Superman. Um, I bought that, and I bought an issue of Spider-Man. Um, no, actually, it wasn't an issue. I believe it was an issue of Spider-Man. Let me another look here. Um, let me just take a look here. Yes, it was an issue of Spider-Man, with the Punisher in it, and it's funny on the cover of this issue. It's the Punisher holding Spider-Man from the back, and he's like, "I know who you are, Peter Parker." And it's funny because a lot of covers of comic books end up spoiling what's in the issue. So you find out at the end of this issue, the Punisher finds out who Spider-Man is by being in his apartment. It's like, Peter Parker, I know that you're Spider-Man. And it ends off there. I'm like, really? It's bound to happen, but I think that kind of shock value should be more hidden better. But it's how most comic books are. They contain a lot of spoilers, and it's how it is. But I find it very ironic. And I also got a special anniversary X-Men book. On the cover of it is Rogue and Gambit. It's like a fold poster, so I can actually just fold it up or fold it out and make a poster out of it. I also got Art Germ's Year of the Villain cover variant. It has a cheetah on it. And if you don't know who Art Germ is, he's a artist from Singapore. He's very good at his art. He does like an anime style, and he's really good at the digital art. I have one of his sketchbooks that I've won on a contest online, and it's pretty cool. He signed it for me and everything. It was great. I always share his artwork on my Facebook page, so if you're friends with me on Facebook, you'll see that a lot. From time to time, depending on who he draws. He draws a lot of like gaming and anime, mostly. He has a very unique style to it. I also bought the free comic book day Funko Pop of Constantine. It's a special variant because it was only released on that day. Retailers got a special hold on it, and I believe there was only 20,000 made. So me and Andrew got one. We then went to Warp 9 Comics. It was in Royal Oak. It was on like I believe 14 Mile, somewhere around there. It's on the west side. Again, these shops are in Michigan, so if you're in Michigan, you know the areas I'm talking about. That's where these shops are at. And we went to Warp 9, and it was actually pretty packed. Apparently, they had an artist there that drew one of the issues for one of the free comics. I didn't get her signature. I don't even know who she is. But we've been in there. It was my first time in Warp 9 Comics. They have a lot of toys, a lot of great statues. The way they're really organized, but it was pretty. It was a pretty small shop. Um, I thought it was great. If I lived around there, I probably would go there. But it's not my store, so for the first time, it wasn't too bad. Then we went to Comix Corner on Utica and Masonic. It's on the north side of Utica. It's in this little plaza, and you'll miss it if you're driving north on Utica past Masonic. You'll miss it. So it's a very small shop. But I've been going there for the past 2 years as well. I'm not a member there, but I go there when I don't get my variants pulled at Liberty. Then I go to Comics Corner because it's near my workplace. So I just drop by there. The guys kind of know who I am a little bit. Um, they usually have great pulls. Like the owner's son there, he knows what like younger readers want. So he'll pull like different variants and stuff like that and order them, depending on who wants what. I went there and they had an artist there named the artist's name was Joe Lalich. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He was an artist on the new Superman issues for the Rebirth launch, and the new Superman is the Chinese Superman. He drew a two-page splash for that series, and it's really good. He's a really good sketch artist, and I bought one of his sketchbooks. It was number 3 of 100. You should check him out. He's a really good artist. He was really cool, really nice. I didn't have cash on me, so he let me pay through PayPal, which was which was the first for me because I never got to meet an artist that let me pay through PayPal. Um, Usually they only charge cash, or sometimes they don't have the square to read your credit card. But that was the first for me. And I tend not to spend a lot on free comic book day, but this time I spent quite a bit. I spent roughly $100. I bought My Hero Academia volumes 16 and 17, And I also bought the My Hero Academia Vigilantes Volume 1, which is a prequel to My Hero Academia. Not so much a prequel, but it's like a side story that takes place before all the heroes do. It's about another character who's an All Might fan who has a quirk that allows him to slide, and it just his adventures with two other vigilantes, and it's before the hero law gets placed, and it's illegal to use your quirk still. So I haven't read through all of it yet. I'm still like not even a quarter way through. It's a good read. It's different from the main characters of My Hero Academia. Um, and again, if you don't know what My Hero Academia is, definitely check it out. Watch the anime on Hulu, Crunchyroll. Check it out. It's a great series. I pulled quite a bit for Free Comic Book Day as well, with a lot of issues. I'm not gonna name all the free books I've got because I got a lot, but there was like a lot of anime being sponsored this year. Again, My Hero Academia, I've talked about it quite a bit already. It is a sponsored issue. They just previewed the fight for Deku and Bakugo. There's also The Promised Neverland, which was previewed in that comic as well. The Promised Neverland, I spoke about it before in my previous episode. It's a great anime. It just ended as well, so definitely check that out. They also had like a Pokemon I Choose You special comic. There was um, Spider-Man. There was Avengers being sponsored. Ninja Turtles for the 35 years of just the series. There was quite a bit, and um, with each store, I just picked out the ones I couldn't pick. I couldn't select because certain stores only allow you to grab so many. With Liberty, I was able to grab the ones that I really wanted, and then when I went to the other stores, I just grabbed the ones I thought that were like semi interesting. Um, After that, we went to Liberty Comics, which was the last shop we went to, and with Liberty Comics, that's the store. That's the comic book store I go to. Um, the store I've been going to for roughly 3 years now, 3 or 4 years. I believe I messed up the address or the location of this shop on my last episode. Again, if you're in Michigan, this store is not located on Groesbeck. It's located on Gratiot, past 11 Mile on the south side, which is across the Joe Randazzo's grocery store. It's in a small little plaza. It'll have a comic sign, and then there's like a vitamin store sign under it, so you'll be able to see it. Um, I went there. I saw the guys Chuck, Howard, Gale. Um, I was able to pick up my stuff. They had like three artists there. I bought a Deadpool print from one of the artists. I forgot his name. I didn't get to talk to him that much. I was too busy looking at his prints. There was a sketch artist there as well that I wasn't able to speak to, but he was drawing, and he was from the art. It was really good. I'm not an artist, so when I see artists draw, to me every artist is really good to me because I can't draw to save my life. I draw stick figures and very ugly shaped characters. Um, yeah, after picking up all of our stuff, um, that pretty much wrapped up our free comic book day adventure. I'd recommend that you read comic books because they're the source to all the movies and to a lot of these things that are coming out in pop culture. There are movies that are actually comic books that we never knew. Like for example, if anyone didn't know, Hellboy was actually based off a comic book. I have been reading some of the stuff that came out this week on last week. The first book that I really wanted to talk about was Deceased. It's written by Tom Taylor, and he's the writer for Injustice, and he's written some Marvel books as well. One of the artists is named Trevor Hairsine. I believe that's how it's pronounced. He's worked on The Walking Dead, and his art is pretty much pretty gruesome. It's not super bloody in this series, but it's really interesting with how they're doing this. Again, it's a zombie apocalypse type of story in the DC universe. Um, and I thought it was a great time to release this book because around this time of the year, there's no major storylines going on, so DC's just happened to show up, and it's a great miniseries read. It's out monthly. So what happens in the story? It starts off right away with the League fighting Darkseid, and one of the panels was super great. It's Superman. He punches Darkseid so hard he broke his jaw, and it was like a sound of thunder when he hit him, and it broke. And so they send Darkseid back to Apocalypse because they think he's attacking Earth to dominate again, but there's a Uh, he goes to Earth for another item, which turns out to be a mother box on Earth. And with the mother box, he also took Cyborg with them without them knowing because Cyborg wasn't in that fight. Um, they go back to Apocalypse, and Cyborg is being worked on by a torturer named Desaad, and he experiments on him. And Darkseid comes through, and he has the mother box, and he uses it to call the Black Racer, which is also a Death character. He calls out to Death, and when right before Death comes and tries to do something, he grabs him by the neck, and they take a piece of Death and combine it with Cyborg and the Mother Box, attempting to create a new anti-life equation. With the anti-life equation, Darkseid wants to use it to pretty much dominate the entire universe. It pretty much eliminates free will from all living creatures, and with that power, he can just do whatever he wants and rule whatever he wants. But because it was a incomplete experiment, meaning they only used half of what they knew because the mother box only contained half of the anti-life equation, and he wanted to combine it with Cyborg's tech, which is a mother box type technology. They combine it with the Black Racer's material, DNA, and it somehow corrupts Darkseid. It's like a biological, technological virus, and it latches onto Darkseid first on his face, and it like starts to eat away at his eyes, and then it jumps onto Cyborg, and as Cyborg's trying to get out, Desaad uh, transports him back to Earth, and it turns out that Desaad he's immune to it, which I think will be a big part of the story as well. But they go straight into where Darkseid's like going crazy and he's getting eaten, and then he blows up, and Apocalypse somehow from the panel it looks like Apocalypse blows up, and then they go back to Earth, and then Cyborg falls from the sky because he was teleported from Apocalypse, and as soon as he connects back to Earth or gets back to Earth, his systems go online, and people are looking at Cyborg and taking photos of him, and Cyborg knowing what happened, he freaks out. It's like, no, turn off your phones, and it's too late. The virus went through, and it attacks the internet, and it attacks all forms of social media, and the people who have their phones out or who are looking at screens end up seeing this anti-life equation and go mad. They go insane, kind of like World War Z, and they go mad and they start ripping the skin off their start ripping the flesh off their face, and they start attacking each other. And then they go to where Superman's at, and Superman's still trying to find out how to get Cyborg back, and he's talking to Mr. Miracle. And while they're trying to find out how to get him back, Superman can hear the screams of the people, and he checks out the scene to see what's happened, and it's extremely bad. People are either dead or fighting each other, and they find out, and he somehow finds out that it's through the screens that's causing this virus, and so he goes back to his apartment where Lois is at, and before Lois can even look at her phone, Superman burns her phone and burns the TV, and also there Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne are there as well. And so Damian tries to find out where Batman's at, and Superman says that it'll take more than just the zombie apocalypse to get to Batman. So they go to Batman's Batcave, and he's trying to figure out what's the root cause of this, and what is this virus. It doesn't go through his computers because his firewalls are that powerful, and so his firewalls are able to stop the virus from going to his computers. But then he realizes that the electricity in his house and the internet in his house is still on everywhere else, so he uses this magnetic pulse to shut down everything in his house. And because of that, Damian's not able to reach out to Batman. So when Batman goes up to his mansion, he finds Alfred, who's in the kitchen, and he's freaking out. And out of the shadows is like a zombified Nightwing, and he jumps at Batman, and they end the issue with Nightwing attacking him and biting him and like clawing out his chest. And then I believe it's Tim Drake that's there as well, and Tim Drake's a zombie as well, and he attacks Batman, and they ended off with like a panel of Batman getting bit on the neck by Nightwing, saying "run" to Alfred. And it's a pretty intense comic. I didn't think it would start off and end like how it did. It jumps right to the point. I thought it was really good first. It's a really good first issue. I'm really excited for next month's issue. Um, the next issue that I wanted to talk about here is the Year of the Villain issue, which is a yearly book that DC is doing. That's 25 cents, and it goes over the next big events that's going to happen in the DC universe. Um, the Year of the Villain talks about how the Legion of Doom is trying to again uprise. Apparently, Lex Luthor kills himself um, to prove a point. They don't go too much into it. They just like it's just a preview of the story. He kills himself in the first part of the story. They jump into the Leviathan story arc, which I'm not reading. Leviathan's another group that's uprising in the DC universe, and apparently Jason Todd might be the leader, or he is a part of it, of the Leviathan group. Apparently, Leviathan's attacking all of the heroes. In this third one, they go back to where the Legion of Doom is planning their attack, and it turns out after the events of the Sixth Dimension with the Justice League, the Legion of Doom is working to have Perpetua, who is the goddess or the god of creation or the mother of all creation, and work with her to pretty much rule everything again, just like typical villain stuff. But she reminds me of Kaguya in Naruto, which is which is the main villain in the Naruto series. Um, Now, Perpetua, her goal is to pretty much rule everything with her abilities to create, and she's also recreating Lex Luthor. And in the group that's working with her, with the Legion of Doom, there's Cheetah, there's Gorilla Grodd, Brainiac, the Batman Who Laughs, who has his own storyline as well. He has a 7-issue series, which is almost done. And August 14th, there's a Batman slash Superman book that's coming out. And with this series, the Batman Who Laughs, he makes his own Secret Six group, having heroes be turned to villains. And the twist is that Batman and Superman are trying to find out who these heroes are that's been turned, and trying to stop him from turning any more heroes into Jokerized versions of themselves. If you don't know who the Batman Who Laughs is, he is a Jokerized version of Bruce Wayne from a different Earth, from the Dark Knight's Metal event of last year, or from last year and the year before. He was a very popular villain because it's a Jokerized Batman, and it's just Batman who's gone insane and just is willing to do whatever it takes to control everything and to just destroy everything. And it's Batman's with no chains. He's willing to kill you. He'll just kill you for no reason. He'll Jokerize you, and it's insane because he's the insanity of Joker and the brains of Bruce Wayne. With this Batman slash Superman book, they kind of preview the heroes that could be controlled by the Batman Who Laughs. I have a list here who I think is going to be controlled. The first on my list here is Supergirl, just because she's incredibly powerful. Some say that she may be more powerful than Superman. Just her abilities overall as a Jokerized hero would prove a great test to Superman himself and to Batman, because she is Superman's cousin. She can keep up with Superman, and she's has all the abilities of Superman as well, and so that would be a tough fight. Another hero that I think that will be picked is Hal Jordan, or the Green Lantern. I've just recently had a appreciation of the Green Lantern characters, because I was never a Green Lantern fan. I've always knew who he was and knew what their powers were. About a year ago, I got into reading some of the Green Lantern stuff, and I gotta say the Green Lantern books are really good. So I think Hal Jordan, with the power of the Green Lantern ring being Jokerized, could put some damage on Superman and Batman because of his creativity. Another character I think would be Jokerized is Shazam. Shazam is another superhero that's recently had a movie. Shazam's abilities, with his magic abilities, would definitely put Superman on his back, and especially having him being Jokerized would be an extremely tough fight. I also put Batgirl as a choice for being a Jokerized hero. she wouldn't be too much of a test for Batman and Superman, but I feel like as her character is extremely smart when it comes to just being tactical and just having strategy. I think she would put up a good mental game towards Batman and Superman. Another character, which is obvious as well, is Wonder Woman. Um, just her overall skills, similar to Supergirl with the super strength and the with the ability to fly, and her. Maybe you might see a Jokerized Wonder Woman using the lasso of truth. That'd be quite a twist. The last character I have here that I would probably see Jokerized is Constantine. Constantine isn't too popular in the comics. I know he's one of the more well-known dark magician type characters in the DC universe, but he doesn't really have his own series. He's kind of just in and out of the books. He did have his own Hellblazer series with the Rebirth line, but they ended it already. Um, Constantine's magic and just his wittiness and um, just being like street smart with everything. He's very tricky to figure out, and his magic ability is way different from Shazam's. His ability with the dark arts to summon things and to create things would be a good test against Superman and Batman. I also had some other choices as well that weren't in my top six, such as Beast Boy or Martian Girl, and possibly Alfred. Imagine a Jokerized Alfred trying to fight Batman and Superman. A lot of people overlook Alfred because Alfred is a butler for Batman. What people don't realize is that Alfred knows Bruce Wayne in and out. So I think if there was a Jokerized version of Alfred, he would use that against Batman. It'd be a very emotional, tough fight for Batman as well, seeing him Jokerized. So I think that'd be a good twist. In these last few books, they've also been promoting The Last Night on Earth by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. The Last Night on Earth is a book it previews Batman walking in the desert with the Joker's head, in a lantern type case. The preview that they show is Batman being in Arkham, and the doctor is telling him that your adventures are causing you to hurt inmates and doctors and people around you and whatnot. And they kind of go off the theory of Neil Gaiman's book of Batman, where like Bruce Wayne's Batman is only around because they allow him to do it. But it's not exactly Alfred and the people around him allowing him to do it. But like, I believe there was this theory where Batman was in Arkham the whole time, and he was just crazy, and overall, the Batman wasn't real; it was on his head, and so they kind of just go off on that, and you find out that like they kind of show you that his head doctor is the Joker, but they don't call him the Joker. Batman believes he's the Joker, but he's not. There's another like a gym teacher that helped Batman learn how to do martial arts. They called him Dr. Al Ghul, which was for Ra's al Ghul. Um, he was teaching Batman, and apparently in the preview, Batman hurt him so bad and tried to drown him because he believed he found the magical well, which was the Lazarus pit, and he almost killed him in the process. There was also um, a librarian that was teaching Batman how to read and learn different languages. They called him uh, Shush instead of Hush, which was leaning towards that because in this part of the series, in this part of the preview, Batman is talking to Alfred, and Alfred's telling him that everything you're doing around you, it's causing you to hurt others, and they end it with him. They ended the preview with Alfred holding um, with a suit with the Batman cowl on it, like one of the like the asylum suits with the Batman cowl on it, and it's like, Bruce, you made this, and they cut it off there. So it's pretty interesting preview. And usually I kind of avoid these previews, but with The Last Night on Earth, I believe it was a month delayed before its initial release date, but now it's coming out at the end of May. I believe it's May 29th. And yeah, Greg Capullo, who's the artist for this series, and Scott Snyder, they both work together so well. They've done so many issues together, such as The Dark Knight's Metal and the 52 runs. They're a perfect pair when it comes to just Batman stories, and it's amazing to see what they're going to do next with this book. I believe it's going to be like the more recent Batman books, the ones here. on the Batman Damn books, it's gonna be like that, where it's a 3 book, 48-page series. Um, so I believe it's gonna be like that. Hopefully, it's released monthly. Hopefully, it's not released bi-monthly. Um, so yeah, that's what I wanted to cover today with these comics here. There's a few more things I wanted to discuss here as well. Just before I sign off, I wanted to discuss Attack on Titan as well, and Demon Slayer. Their episodes came out this week with Attack on Titan. I almost forgot to watch it today. I'm glad I woke up and I watched it right away. The episode 2 of season 3B pretty much picks up off of the last episode where the great Beast Titan attacks the wall where they're at, and Reiner um, goes for the wall as well, but then they draw him away so he can fight Eren, and they pretty much reveal the Thunder Spears in this series. Um, Pretty much the Thunder Spears is something that Hanji created to take down the Armor Titan, and they're like super explosives. So it's pretty intense. They show a fight scene with Eren and Reiner in their Titan forms, and Eren's pretty much whooping on him. I love the fact that they show like the MMA styled aspects of their fighting, because they show like Eren using his ground game working from the guard, which is like when he's on his back and his legs are crossed over the torso of Reiner, and then he puts him in a Kimura and rolls him over so that he can get out from being under. It was really cool to see that in animation form versus reading the panels in the manga. Now also for Demon Slayer, it was just more of plot build up for the story after Tanjiro kills the demon that he fought in the forest. His sister wakes back up, and you see that Tanjiro like is super skillful now. He's learning everything, and he passes to be a Demon Slayer in the Demon Slayer Corps. And turns out he was able to pick out a new ore to build a new sword, or be used as material to build a new sword. When the blacksmith comes over to where he's at, gives him the blade of the sword turns black, which was really cool. And then he's then sent out to his first assignment as a demon slayer, trying to track down a demon who's been stealing or kidnapping girls in a village. So they ended off there. So I'm excited for next week's episode of Demon Slayer as well. Um, there's also a few movies coming out as well, such as Godzilla, Detective Pikachu, and Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog, if you don't know yet, has had to be redone because of the animation, and people were incredibly mad about the how they initially released them, which I didn't notice at first until they put it like the picture side by side, and it was really bad. The first release, they really made him try to look like more of a hedgehog versus the actual Sonic character. So I'm glad that they fixed it. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it makes them realize that they have to work on this movie to make it better, and hopefully it doesn't suck, because I do want to go watch that as well. Detective Pikachu comes out pretty soon. If you don't know, Detective Pikachu is voiced by Ryan Reynolds, and I believe there was a petition for fans to have Ryan Reynolds cuss as Pikachu, saying the F word. So that'd be pretty funny to see Pikachu cuss as Ryan Reynolds as well. And the last movie I wanted to talk about was Godzilla, which comes out at the end of this month. Godzilla is pretty much the Monsters Avengers film of this year. He fights King Ghidorah. They show Mothra and Rodan, and it's pretty much a build-up movie to the more epic movie of Godzilla versus King Kong, which I can't wait to see. And this movie looks amazing. This is like the perfect monster movie for people who love Godzilla, and we get to finally see it done correctly versus seeing people fighting each other in suits, like in the old Japan movies. So yeah, so if you have time, read comic books, enjoy your night. Game of Thrones will be on in about 10 or 20 minutes or so. I'm getting ready to watch that. I can't wait to see what the plot's going to be. Hopefully someone betrays someone, or they show some sort of death, which I doubt, because this is pretty much post Night King death. So hopefully they do something good in this episode. And it's sad because we're midway through Game of Thrones, and there's only a few weeks left, and then it'll be done. So continue reading comic books, enjoy your nights, watch Game of Thrones, have fun, enjoy your family, love each other. My name is Ricky. Thank you for listening to this episode of Spoiler Force Podcast. Have a good night.